So this is going to be pretty short. I just wanted to share something kind of unusual and weird that happened last night. Well, for a while now, I've been really interested in reading up on the Edomite and Khazar theories. Basically the people who call themselves Jews today are not the Hebrews or Israelites of the Bible, but they are Edomites. They're descendants of Esau, in other words, not the sons of Jacob. And in connection with that, of course, I've come across the serpent seed doctrine that, certain groups promote. And I've kind of been turned off by some of those groups, but I've still kind of listened to a little bit of what they have to say. And, my main problem is that they are sort of like a racist version of fundamentalist in my mind, Still, I think their basic idea of a serpent seed or a group or race that could be described as the sons of Cain being at war with a race or group that could be called the sons of Seth. In broad terms, that is something that kind of interests me because it kind of aligns with some of my studies into Gnosticism. There is, of course, the Gnostic group that calls themselves the Sethians. And, in their scriptures, they talk about the generation of Seth or the seed of Seth. And that's basically what it means to be a Sethian. So just like you have the Christian identity movement, you could basically call the old Sethians a Gnostic Christian identity movement in a sense. So I'm kind of interested in the idea of the serpent seed, but my conclusions about what that all means will probably be radically different from the ideas associated with, so-called Christian identity or whatever. But I am interested in the idea of something like a serpent seed. And of course, anyone that's familiar with people like David Icke and so on, there's a lot of people that kind of focus on this idea of kind of a serpent or reptilian race. And I don't take that as far as some of them do, like to the point of actually believing in interdimensional shape-shifting reptilians or whatever. But understood in a certain way, there seems like there's something to that whole thing. But anyway, what was really interesting last night is I was at my computer and I had just pulled up a bunch of articles and so on kind of related to this topic. The one that was on my screen was, about serpent seed. And I kind of fell asleep at my desk for just a little bit. When I woke up, I was going to walk outside for a minute, and above the door frame, there was a snake. I have no idea how it got up there. It's the weirdest thing because my understanding of snakes, they can't climb up walls, and I can't find any way that it could have gotten up there. It's just above the door frame, chilling on top of the door frame. I have no idea how it got up there, but it was up there. And I've never really seen any kind of snake inside my place before, much less on top of a door frame. So it was just so weird to me that, I was just pulling up all these articles about serpent seed, and I get up to go outside, and there is a serpent up on top of my door frame, almost like it's waiting for me to jump outside so it can, strike at me from on top of the door frame or something. So, of course, I'm looking for something to kill it with, a hammer or whatever. The only thing I could find was my sword. And I forgot I even had it. It was just kind of like, well, I'm going to be honest, my place is kind of messy. I was just scrounging around trying to find something. I found this sword, and it was one my brother kind of gave to me as a present a while back. I don't ever play with it or do anything with it, but I just stumbled across it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can kill the snake with this. So I, took the snake down from the top of the door frame and chopped its head off and threw it outside. And that's kind of interesting because in light of this Edomite thing I was talking about earlier, so, I mean, if you're familiar with Esau and all that, there's basically the idea that he will live by the sword. And then, of course, in the New Testament, Jesus says, he who lives by the sword will die by the sword. It seems to me that he's talking about the Edomites there. But I don't want to get too deep into that. I'm mainly just kind of sharing this unusual story. But anyway, it gets weirder. So it was nighttime, it was dark, I couldn't really see the snake all that good, but just kind of threw it outside after I cut its head off. And I go outside this morning to check it out because I'm kind of curious what kind of snake it is. And I still don't know. I'm not a snake expert. I haven't been able to identify it. I've kind of been looking online just because I think it would be interesting to know. So check out this picture of the snake and the very peculiar markings on it. Does that not look like a six-pointed star to you? So anyway, I'm usually not real big on believing in like signs and, supernatural stuff and all that. But this is weird, right? I just got done, pulling up all these articles about serpent seed and, the Edomite Jews and so on. And for the first time pretty much ever, there's a snake inside my place on top of the door frame, which seems impossible to me. I cut its head off with a sword, throw it outside, check it out this morning, and there's six-pointed stars all over it. So take that for what it is. I just find it really weird. It's, like I say, if it's not some kind of supernatural sign or confirmation or something, it's at least some kind of synchronicity type of event. And I always find stuff like that really cool. So I just thought I'd share that. Not so much for any reason. I just found it really unusual and cool. So I'll talk to you later. Peace.